What is going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, and I am doing a Leo King live to see what is crack-a-lacking with everybody out there, especially with this wild astrology that we got going on. Uh, I call the show Leo King Live. I do it on High Vibe a lot of the times, but I'm doing it publicly because what up? It's been quite the, I would say, placement transit wise that has brought us to quite a life we've all lived to this point. Um, I think the longer we go into the astrology and the times we've been through, the more we understand why it's been so intense, crazy, but also what better time to be alive as a soul and go through a conscious expansion than in this realm at this time. The deeper we get into things, I don't even trip out as much anymore. I'm more excited about always what reveals itself, and I think it's truly been a really positive experience. Um, but there's also been a lot of crazy stuff at the same time too. So I know that it's different for every single person, but I usually go live off of my studio software, but I'm actually doing it off Zoom because I wanted to have fun to be able to share stuff and do that all without having to use my whole studio. But I am going live everywhere. And I thought I would also take some question and answers today. I'll start with people, of course, that are on High Vibe TV first, since they are paying subscribers. But it's so funny. I don't know why YouTube put up the wrong, whatever you call it. They put up a thumbnail of me DJing. I'm using Restream, which I don't really use much. I usually stream live from my computers to everywhere. But it looks like some people are starting to get that I am live right now. Let me change this thumbnail. I can't handle a bad thumbnail. Nothing worse. There we go. Oh, there we go. A lot of these like apps that are out there for like Restream and I forgot some of the other ones that are out there that you all use. They're really pieces of shit. StreamYard, like all that. That's all just like I'm just gonna be honest, my moon in Taurus, Uranus is on it. Let me just remind people out there that there's much more quality things out there, and it just takes a good computer. It's like you're spending the money for some really big crap out there. And I am too with this restream. I usually do it from my computers and just go direct hardcore 12 megabytes a second. And I use my GPUs to encode. That's why it usually looks so good. But uh, you know, I don't blame people because we're in a weird world. There's a lot of lessons to be learned, especially in tech. Which, to be honest with you, there's a lot that I think question-wise people have been asking me more than I've gotten than any other subject. And you would think with somebody like me who started my app in 2014 and was the first video astrology app and subscription app in 2014 and all that and being in tech for so long, nobody really cared too much about tech. But now with AI, geez, the amount of questions about AI and especially astrology, I get that the most. So I'm going to start with anything first. I thought I would start with questions first before kind of maybe going off on a tangent like I usually do over crazy stuff, even though I know a lot of people like me going in crazy tangents where I see the astrology right now and so forth. But I thought we would do some Q&A first. So we got a question. I was going to say, come on, High Vibe. If people on High Vibe right now don't ask questions, don't make me go to YouTube. I still have, from Heather, I still have some deep astrology left. But did you talk about the Mercury T square nodes of fate on the 5th? And there's a lot of astrology this week, but Mercury is moving so fast. To me, the Mercury square the nodes, it's so fast that the other transits that are happening on the 5th are taking a bigger precedent. I don't think that, I mean, I know that I did touch on the fact that the South Node being in Virgo and with Mercury being the ruler, it does have some weight, but I definitely focused more on watching Mercury and Jupiter conjunct, and then Mercury jump right into Cancer, and then watching Jupiter jump into Cancer, and then the beginning of the squares. Like it's almost like a what the hell, we're in that now. By the time that we get to the 9th, Mercury's moving so fast. It's only 2 weeks through Gemini here, doing over 2 degrees in 10 minutes. I mean, after that Cazimi and that superior conjunction, it was just like bye bye. So it's interesting because I like to remind people, and everybody's going to do astrology different, but the nodes are the nodes to the moon, right? So the only thing the nodes care about are the sun and the moon for eclipses. So planets can feel entitled to get something from the nodes. The nodes don't say anything to them as much, right? They're there to serve the pleasure of the sun and the moon. Now, in your natal chart, if you do have planets conjunct them, it's kind of an annoyance for the nodes, right? Because it's like there's this planet that's always trying to put itself as this higher tier energy. It's not a luminary. So to me, I don't really think planets square nodes, unless, of course, you're going through the transit, but it depends on the signs and it depends on the planet, meaning when the nodes are in Gemini and Sag, doesn't matter what side. The Neptune Pisces squares for people who were born with those, like we all went through crazy mental health stuff. And that's because having mutable nodes and having Neptune, it almost distorts our connection, right? The nodes are the connecting point in many ways to this reality. So when you see a planet, the fastest planet, by the way, Mercury, crossing so fast that it's only literally minutes in time to maybe an hour or so, where it's actually in the exact square, and it's literally 2 degrees a day, meaning it's literally within a 24-hour period, squaring the node in that midpoint moment for just maybe an hour, not even. It's not even with the South Node being in Virgo and that being the dispositor, it just, with everything else happening, it's just low on the significance. In my opinion, personally, there's bigger things, there's rare things happening, right? Like Mercury is going to square the nodes multiple times, right? That we're going to have, that we still have right now. We have another year of North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo. So, when Mercury comes into Virgo, it'll be with the South Node. And when Mercury comes into Sag, when it squares Saturn and Neptune, when they both are back in Pisces, right, on New Year's Day and New Year's Eve, that to me is a little bit more significant time period, because we'll see Mercury squaring the nodes and then the big square to the same Saturn Neptune, but in Pisces, in the last big Mercury square Saturn Neptune in Pisces of our lives. So to me, it's about rarity, like how rare is the transit. And so the fact that this is so fast and so forth isn't that big of a thing for me as an astrologer. It's not like I'm going to get you much out of it. Jeanette says, I was watching Deep Astrology and wowzer, after listening to an argument my daughter was having with her boyfriend, it was like watching the astrology unfold in front of me. Yeah, I brought up especially this period can bring up a lot of disagreements with Mars, especially in approaching its square to Uranus. And then, of course, we have that Venus-Pluto square, but also we have Venus-Pluto in a conjunction helio-wise. So we're seeing a Helio and a Geo Venus-Pluto contact. And then you're getting both. See, to me, the Mercury sextile Mars, the Mercury sextile Venus is letting both of them know You guys are out of your retrograde zones. You guys are in full blast, like go, right? So we're out of this huge, weird kind of period that we've been in since November of 2024. And so with Mars and Venus fully, and Venus especially out of Aries, Mars finally almost at full speed, Venus finally reaching a degree a day. I mean, it is Mercury that is tapping off with, hey, you guys are out of that weird shit. But there is weird shit with Mars and Uranus and square. Also with Venus just coming into Taurus and having Uranus and Taurus, the two planets that are about relationships and different ways, of course, of looking at it. That does bring things to a very intense moment. Especially this is going to be a lot of wrapping up about how we all have different values, but we all have to find common ground in certain places and common denominators. And so, the hardest place for Uranus is Taurus because everybody has a different value. We have different colors we all like. We have different tastes that we all have, right? And so when you get spiritually into it and more of the value systems, whenever I see fights now, it's like values or triggers of self-worth, stuff like that really come up pretty big. I don't know what you're seeing in your life with your daughter, but you know. Billy D wants the lowdown on Mars and Mars squaring Uranus. So to me it's an interesting one, Billy, because it's like we've had Uranus since May of 2018, its first ingress into Taurus. It's a fixed sign, and now that Pluto's in a fixed sign, we still have that Pluto-Uranus square going on. So even though the Pluto-Uranus square, the peaks of it was 2012 to 2015, Pluto ingressing for its first time in 2023 and then coming back again in 2024 and then finally arriving in November of 2024 has brought back this Pluto and Uranus square, even though it's not by a very strong square by degree, but it is as far as planets go and the signs that they're in. And so Mars coming in is actually, even though it's already dealt with the multiple oppositions to Pluto during the retrograde, of course, the last time to Pluto in Capricorn, but really the last two oppositions, which were in Leo, the retrograde version that we saw, and then, of course, the direct version. And now here comes Mars to square Uranus. So it's like, really, it's kind of bringing all that energy up. And so to me, it's like, everybody wants certain things, but then the world is shifting so much. There's so many different ways that we have to go with this reality. And it's kind of weird with Pluto, of course, being in Aquarius because Uranus is in Taurus and Pluto is dispositing Uranus. And Uranus is there just like, I want to get free, and it's stuck in a fixed earth sign, Taurus. And so that Mars in Leo also, it could really just kind of be that party pooper energy that it doesn't want to go through. But you have to understand there's people's values. So it's like Mars in Leo wants to have a party while it's in the war, right? It's kind of like bring everybody up. But at the same time, Uranus and Taurus is like, hey, everybody's got their own kind of things going on, their own self-worth, their own values, their own things. And so everybody is not going to join the same exact viewpoint or party vibe or direction or even happiness that you as an individual might want, right? So it's about understanding how to really, tread carefully too, because there can also be a lot about with all these big squares to Neptune and Saturn from Jupiter. I mean, this is where people could really kind of gamble, really extreme, and get really, especially financially, or even off some other kind of crazy idea. And this Mars in Leo can get kind of carried away here, and it looks too good to be true with all the big Neptune square energy here, and also Saturn and Neptune within a degree by the 9th, that when Mars finally does come in square to Uranus as we come into next week, it could be the thing that, it's kind of like walking into a room and it seems like nothing's going to happen in the room. And then out of nowhere, what the hell? Right? So it's almost like bait It's like what looks too good to be true. It's like Uranus is there waiting, kind of like in a haunted house, like, hey, 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 I'm going to disrupt this. The more that you believe that it's going to be fine without at least checking and making sure that you're not trying to just do it, because really, I think it's deeper about your own happiness. Like, is it really going to make you happy? Like this idea of maybe an attainment, like, oh, once I have this much money in the bank, I'll feel happy. It's like, or even kind of losing yourself into helping somebody else out that takes your own happiness away, and really they don't need it. So it kind of becomes where it's like, are you doing too much, or are you trying to face a problem that you're trying to force your way through it? That's not going to work either. I think Mars square Uranus is very interesting from a relationship standpoint, all the way to like trying to fix problems that, it reminds me of like how a guy would do it. I mean, we all, when something breaks, we hit on it and see if it will work before we even take it apart or do anything, right? It's like bang on it a couple times. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But with the square to Uranus, sometimes you can do more damage. So there's a lot of ways to look at that, you know. Um, do you think, from Missy, do you think we have or will have an AI government? Like, what's real? How the president said the last president was fake. I know someone who works at Social Security, and AI is now on all their computers. Well, AI has already been in the government, right? Like the idea of what like artificial intelligence is, I think it's like, ooh, it's kind of happening in this kind of chatbot form. If you just think about the ideas of AI from a computer standpoint, I mean, the government has been using really old systems, and I'm sure they have many different upgraded systems that we don't know about. But I mean, if you really think about it, there's a lot of jobs that don't really need people to be doing. So I think that, yes, I don't think the complete government will get to that space, although we will find out more in the years ahead, especially I would say 2027 definitely feels like the year of like something that might look like a relief for all of us, but you never know. It could also be where it's like pushing humanity to this point. I think people have too much fear about what's going to happen, and that's natural through every big evolutionary change. But I do feel that we're going to get to a place to where it's like, what is humanity going to do? I mean, we have to use these things as tools, and instead of it just kind of like operating things that we don't want to do. I mean, how if anybody in life who thinks that like money will solve every problem, and that, oh, I'll just have everything be paid for and I won't have to do anything. Like your life ends early, right? It's like, or this idea of retirement. Anybody who thinks I'm just going to retire and not work ever again, it's the people who actually do well in retirement that are working and doing something and staying on top of their hobbies and so forth. So I think it gives us a lot of opportunities to think about what we could be doing more. And I think spiritually, if you think about doing light work, I mean, the whole point is for us to be truly connected with soul and actually allow it to express itself. I think people need to kind of see that however the universe is going to do that is going to do that. I think we're in the most confusing window of all time, though, because not anybody really knows exactly what it will look like, right? There's too much of this very unique, fresh moment that's building, and that is already begun. Well, at the same time, Saturn and Neptune haven't met at zero Aries going back, over 6,000 years. So there is a complete new, I would say, I don't even, it's so big of a time scale that it's like we're really moving into like, we call it prehistory the last time Saturn and Neptune met in Aries at 0 degrees. And so we're kind of moving into post history of what we've always known. And so, there's a lot of fear with that, but I think, a lot of that stuff, I'm sure there's people that will debate all day about how important it is or how fearful it is. But when you look around, I think a lot of what we see is a show. I mean, like that's what Neptune and Pisces has been. Neptune, especially with the Jupiter conjunction that happened in 2022, when we were in that Taurus season, I'm pretty sure it happened. So about 3 years ago, that is what this Jupiter Neptune square is going to be about. And that's kind of the peak of the Biden green screen. Everybody going, what the hell is this guy? Him falling off the stairs, right? Like, and it's like he's too tall here, he's too small here, he's got a double chin there, he's got different hair here, and just yesterday he had no hair, and now it's like I think that every part of it is a show, right? So it's just like really easy to see whether it's from the left or the right. A lot of them are all connected by the same people. A lot of them are all going through the same stuff. A lot of them play the same tune in different ways. Like, so they take the tune and they just play a different note of it. And they all, you know, you can tell by the media and how everybody went up against Joe Biden. And now it's like the questioning about it wasn't that extreme. Like, I think the gauge of like the mainstream media did not make a big deal about it. They're making a bigger deal out of about other little things, but they're not making a big deal about Trump saying that Biden is a clone and also wears masks and is partly probably robot too, right? Like, I mean, like the fact that it didn't become too big a deal goes to show you that, nobody wants to admit that that's probably what happened, right? Or CNN's waiting to find the next new anchor that's going to make a book about that part. Or maybe it'll be NBC. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like it could be just they're all waiting for some next person to cover that story to monetize on it. But I think overall, what it looks like in the future right now, as far as like AI, government, I mean, they've had a lot of these tools for a long time. So I mean, I talked very deep and long in 2019 and 2020 about how in October, especially when the quantum computer that Google had come out with finally was at least shown to the public in a mainstream story. October, that was when the South Node had just met with Saturn and Pluto, right? And we were getting ready for Saturn to conjunct Pluto in the just 2 months ahead. And so if you just think about that, like that's coming up on 6 years ago. And that was when they finally revealed quantum computing, right? Quantum supercomputers, to be precise. So I think that it's already been being used all the time. I think that they used quantum computing and supercomputers for the crazy ideas. And I think that we've all been the training. All of our social media posts, all of our inboxes, all of our text messages, all of it, all of our Gmails, all of our everything has been as databases forever. I mean, Edward Snowden helped us know that a long time ago. So if you think about it, like how are people going to fall for BS? This is why I said like the Saturn Pluto Capricorn conjunction was so dark, with the South Node being there. Is like, you want control? Like that was their control. They actually knew what would get people to believe such BS because of how people were on social media, how people were in their Gmails, how people were everywhere. So I think they used a prompt to understand. It almost kind of feels like every other month they were kind of going, see what it says next. And came up with their little plan that way. Right. So, that's where I feel it's been used for a long time. I'm sure we'll get some sort of, secret document that finally a FOIA request, if we find the right kind of situation that they've been doing, is going to be how to really steer the government and continuity of government situations based on quantum computing and the data from all of the citizens and even anybody of the world that they've had through all these social media aspects. And really, that's the funny part is that social media becomes a major thing when Pluto ingresses into Capricorn, and so does the iPhone, and so does everything else. And so the Capricorn aspect was about platforms. And so all these platforms really, by the end of Pluto in Capricorn, when it's, especially in 2020, met up with Saturn, I mean, it really doubled down, I feel. So that's what's interesting about Aquarius is Aquarius definitely deals with new tech and experimental aspects, but having Pluto here is definitely where the fear of the AI is. So I remember at the beginning of Pluto Capricorn, it was like so many people were afraid of more like the corporate world. And then you see through the middle of the transit, it's like normal for you to have a corporate job and the way that corporations kind of made like a cool room and they made this and they made that and everybody kind of got really accustomed to it. And then near the end, and this will be of course different because you know Pluto Saturn's every 33 plus years, right? So you know we're not going to see Pluto Saturn in Aquarius. So it is kind of an interesting thing where no, AI is not going to probably be as crazy as some people think. There's a lot of, you know, some people are going to integrate a lot. Some people are going to take a while. I mean, we're still in a world right now where people really don't even know how to update their computer. A lot of people are still on old devices. A lot of people are still on old computers. A lot of people still don't even really know how a computer works. So, you know, if you really want to like use the power of all these tools, like you have to be a computer nerd. And really, I think Pluto and Aquarius is, you know, the powerful ones. And you see that kind of being said in the media, like, ooh, technocrats or whatever. It's more like computer nerds, right? Computer nerds are going to be the bigger than a CEO now, right? So, you know, you're going to be more powerful understanding how to get through encryption, especially whether it's real ID or any of these kind of things, especially like how to get through systems and how to like actually use AI and make sure that you're a master in a terminal and that you're a master of knowing how to actually use AI in the proper way of using it, opposed to it being through just a chatbot. Like the chatbot is remembering that there's a human being that is created or an assistant AI that has created a chatbot and created a set of parameters to follow and training and using, whether it's OpenAI or whether it's Google's, you know, new Gemini 2.5 or whether it's Facebook's Llama or whether it's NVIDIA who likes to use Llama. Like you know, it's using one of the platform's systems, right? And but there's a difference when you're building your own on your own computer. You build a local server and then you connect it to a GitHub or you connect it to a public server, a cloud server, and you go from that direction. But you do it all in your own terminal. And you use Python code or you can use other different codes too. But the fact that people don't even understand that yet on the mass, that people are still having problems like, what do I do? How do I get my sound to work on my iPhone still? That's where you know I'm not too freaked out, right? I think what I've been seeing more that I have been saying for a while is that Pluto and Aquarius, especially if you look at America, right? Like this country was founded by Masons. The Masons that were in the founding fathers, out of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, the ones that were Masons, which I think was very small compared to the large number, right? It was like a fifth of them, were the only ones that became the dominant peoples and roles in the war, and of course after the war, and waiting for the Constitutional Convention, you know, almost a decade later, right? and then even were the ones that were big into setting up the Constitutional Convention and finally creating the Constitution. And so what I've noticed, and I even noticed when Elon Musk was in the White House, and it was weird seeing him have that black eye, and then right when he was talking about it, he did this. And so, the Masons are back. Masonry's cool again in these circles. And the country was founded off Masons, meaning no, it wasn't Jesus Christ, it wasn't Allah, it wasn't any of it, right? It's you throw that all your religious hats out the window when you walk into a temple for Masonry. And the higher you go up in degrees, you learn more. But the main thing is that you don't come from that religious place. And so I think the bigger secret is more of these underground spiritual, whether you want to call it just Freemasonry or you want to go into, there's probably some sort of esoteric kind of cult stuff in other dark directions too. And there's questions to whether or not Freemasonry is at the true original intention. I mean, Freemasonry is different, right? Because than some of the other more spiritual places like Rosicrucians, who really are the ones who started this kind of idea, who actually were alchemists and actually, integrated more from a higher spiritual plane and did not make it just a fraternity, right? So it's kind of more fraternal. But that makes sense with Pluto in a masculine sign and with everything going to be masculine. I mean, especially Uranus and Gemini, and then you got Neptune coming into Aries here, right? Full time by next year. I mean, some of these kind of underground fraternities are, the ones how they set things up. And, no, and so they don't really care whether you're left or right. They don't really care how much you can do for everything. You're just not in the club. Because there was a lot of people that were signers, but they weren't Masons. And why is it only the Masons that became anything, whether they're presidents or whether they're the ones who we read about in the textbooks, the history books? You know, you pretty much had to be a Mason. And it's crazy because that list was small. So was that an initiation for Elon Musk? Maybe might have been. Look, definitely felt like last week was this week, and even last week was the week of humiliations. And there is part of that in the ceremonies of Masonry. So I would say that, it's also not the most terrifying thing. I think what's more terrifying is, religions and religious holy wars and stuff. So the Illuminati's original identity was based upon going against the Catholic Church for its craziness that it was doing, and, trying every way it could to really not have people search for anything outside of whether it was the Orthodox Christian Church in the East or whether it was the Catholic Church in Italy. I mean, the Illuminati, the idea of that was created to go underground and hidden away from where you could be persecuted and killed. I have so many books at my studio that are old about the mistreatment of Masons. And I think Freemasonry has been hijacked in many ways. Like, I think there's like new subsects of like different parts of it that like you see like the celebrity culture kind of did over the last 15 years. That really was like not real, but their own kind of like version of it. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel sits in the Mason, temple that's literally at Hollywood Boulevard and does his show. I mean, I think people kind of have to wake up a little bit more to that kind of stuff, opposed to getting lost in what they are the ones behind the scenes in those shadows talking about is exactly what they want you to be talking about. So you really have to kind of pay attention more, I guess. Um, Whether it was Elon's right eye or left eye, I don't. It was it was definitely coordinated in a way because then the New York Times, it was purposely meant to happen because it's the perfect moment where he's leaving. Also, the key ceremony that he gets, it's very Mason. And then on top of it, he destroys the New York Times because, oh, don't they have to give their Pulitzer Prize back? And then they have like a big story about he was a he's been on drugs. And I know that for a fact as a DJ. And in 2012, all the burners, when he went out to Burning Man, was like, yeah, motherfucker was on acid and doing all that shit. So I know he does all that stuff, right? I'm not saying I don't know if he's done it recently, but everything was all coordinated. And then of course he comes against the bill to look good, and now all the left people love him again, right? So it's all planned in a very unique way. That's kind of like what you get, you know, like you want your reputation back, you want this, and then so it makes people kind of feel sad, and then it makes people go, "Did Trump actually maybe hit this guy?" When it's like, no, it's probably somebody we don't even know. It's some sort of idea of like a temple, Um, they make you ride the goat in the Mason Lodge. Well, I think there's probably because it's been a Pluto cycle of America's. So that's what's interesting. We have the Scottish, right? And the idea of like Freemasonry and the Scottish Lodge. I mean, then we have the English Lodge that's created after. And then we have the American, which comes to the Revolutionary War, this kind of American Freemasonry. So it's still connected, of course, to the Scottish Reich. And even some of them are formed still in alignment with the English, temple and Maine. But I think that there is this like evolutionary, different kind of hybrid Freemasonry in America, meaning that they bend the rules and change things. I remember it was just like a couple years ago. Like one of the heads of NASA was a 33-degree Mason, and because I follow a lot of Mason like pages, like California Masons, different lodges, just to see what they pop up, and you'll always see like big people in power, like a 33-degree Mason, a 32-degree Mason, like get into these places. And it's like there's a little bit of a hybrid system going in California. And the recruitment is very unique. I remember when they tried to recruit me back in 2011 it was to DJ and they didn't tell me it was a Mason Lodge. I didn't really know until I got there. I'm like, you gotta be, what is this? So I think people need to look more into that. That's really what Pluto and Aquarius is to me, is underground hidden groups of people. What are they doing? Right. And I think all rules have gone out the window where we're at with Saturn and Neptune and Aries now, right? So like even all these lodges, I'm sure, have different ways. I mean, that's how Aleister Crowley really, and his ideas, especially in taking over the Golden Dawn, kind of had his own free reign, right? And I do feel that I'm sure there are lodges that are doing their own kind of thing, you know? Well, there's always been a secret club like George Carlin joked about, and we're not in it. I just think it's kind of going back to, uh, just it's kind of bringing back some of the older ways of doing it. So I've always had a vision, and I might be just crazy, but I always feel like whoever does become president of the United States always that there's some part of the Constitution we don't know about. That there's like a secret thing for each executive branch to the judicial branch and to the legislator. So like the Speaker of the House, and then whoever is, the Chief Justice, like there's something that was maybe left behind by the founding fathers of like something that we don't know about, like something that's within to contain the continuity of government, stuff like that. and special, unique powers that go behind the scene. And I think that's like kind of where more this Pluto and Aquarius is going to bring a lot of that out. So it's kind of funny. A lot of them will, bring out their religions in public. That's really what Masonry kind of is used for, is like however you want to look in public, but underneath, you're not that. Meaning they'll tear down at some sort of esoteric thing, but then, and say they're Christian, but then that's gone when they're in their meeting. I think people have to remember that. So let's move to YouTube now. See if there's any comment. I don't even know if anybody's watching on YouTube. Oh, there's 421 people. So if you're on YouTube, you can throw down a comment. I'm also live on X. I'm also live on Facebook, but I'm not going to look at X or Facebook. Oh, thanks for that message. I've watched you since COVID started, and I've grown so much. Thanks. Oh, so Lynn's life says that you have an ancestor who's best friends with George Washington's wife's last name, Lockwood, started the women's version of Masonry. I'm just learning. Yeah, very much so. Is the new pope the last pope based on astrology? I mean, there's really no astrology yet that's showing that there is an end to the Catholic Church. I think it's more of the astrology is the question of whether or not people are going to follow religion or not. So the real end of the church isn't the pope, it's the church itself, meaning that people don't attend churches and don't give money anymore and don't follow it. So there really is no, you know, it's so funny that people kind of create this like similar kind of prophetic thing that's very biblical, like the last pope, right? It's kind of like, well, that would just mean the church falls because people aren't going, right? I do believe that, by 2027, we are reaching points to where we are uncovering parts of like what the origins of humans really are. And that kind of blows the lid. And you can look at it in two ways. You can look at it as like things are going to come to light that make you go, well, the story doesn't make sense anymore in the Bible. So either A, if you're really Christian or you're from Islam or you're Jewish or you're any of these religions, you're going to add on top now of those books and change some things. And then a lot of people are going to go, okay, well, that confirmed why it never made sense anyway, right? And go with where spirituality is taking them and where we're evolving as humanity is. So I think it's more about, there'll always be somebody claiming they're a pope. I mean, that's kind of how the Catholic Church really has run itself. And whenever it's in dying fashion after being, whether it was Rome sacked or whether it's, Constantinople not being able to stand, it's always, some pope that calls himself pope because he's the king. I mean, really, if you think about it, like the Church of England, they don't have a pope, right? They have an archbishop, but ahead of the archbishop is whoever the monarch is. So King Charles III is the head of the Church of England. And so you saw on the, annunciation of King Charles III, you saw the Pope had let some cardinals bring a piece of the quote unquote true cross for that annunciation. And what's really crazy is that was the first time since Pluto was in Aquarius and Neptune was in Aries when Henry VIII had schism and left the Catholic Church and created the Church of England, that those two have talked or done anything. And it's really weird that we're at a place where it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess they're talking again, right? And that's kind of why I predicted the American Pope. It's not even kind of, it's one of the main reasons that Anne and I doing the history and looking at Neptune Aries, Pluto Aquarius, like, okay, this is really easy to see the Pope that came in during the time of Henry VIII leaving the Catholic Church. And so I think there's always some person claiming some sort of religious place and power. Um, and I wouldn't trust any politician who is saying they're religious as far as I would even trust it, right? Like that's the show for voters. The real show is what you don't see underneath, right? I mean, because like the stuff that's going to come out to humanity and be revealed, and it's going to be very slow walked, um, is going to contradict a lot of the ideas that float around. And a lot of those stories are all pieced together through the same story through all these different ancient civilizations. So there's always that kind of question of like, well, where does morality come from? If it's not coming from religion, it's like, well, it's coming from those stories that started way far back. And, like there is morality within us, and it's really a consciousness and a consciousness within you, and whether or not you're here to do good or not. I mean, like, some people try to connect that it's only through religion. Well, you got to backtrack your religion to where did it get the same story that religion got and where that religion got. And why do they all come from a virgin and they all die at 33 and they all like people have to start. It reminds me of very much Pluto Sag. I think Pluto Aquarius has similar aspects. Pluto Capricorn's like people don't question that shit. They just fall back in line with it. But Pluto and Sag was like torrents, right? Like we used to download movies on torrents. We used to download software on torrents. And it was like crazy because I remember downloading Zeitgeist. This is before you went on YouTube to watch this stuff, right? And Pluto and Aquarius is very similar. Of just like, there's kind of like the Zeitgeist kind of like I think a lot of the UAP stuff. I think a lot of I think more fascinating stuff is going to come from archaeologists. I think more fascinating stuff is going to come from historians that are cracking some crazy codes than UAP people. I think the UAP stuff is going to naturally come from the history itself. It's going to be uncovered. I think that the government thought they had everything, but the universe and is gonna present, and there'll be ancient stuff that they even the government didn't find. There is something very odd though about this Uranus and Gemini coming back because even the Nazis were obsessed with finding a lot of this stuff, and so there is this very kind of crazy algorithm that people are searching for the next 7 years coming up. And the technologies that do come out of it are the ones that do kind of form the way the world is technologically. So if you really look at the last Uranus and Gemini, I mean, we're running off that still, even the idea of like the Western world and the technology we have and so forth, right? Like even Roswell, the very end of Uranus Gemini. I mean, people have to remember that, the Nazis had their own version of a UAP, right? The Nazis were in deep search in down in Antarctica. They were in Africa. They were in Egypt, right? They were everywhere. They were doing V2 rockets. They were, right? So, like, they were spending a lot of time doing a lot of things. So, of course, America and Russia, USSR, the ones who went into Berlin at the same time. And, you know, of course, America looks like it got the better side of the deal as far as the right scientists, but the Russians got good ones too, just maybe not as good of ones. And so you saw America jump out first. But there's always, I think, a secret connection with the USSR and Russia, which it's so weird to see the media always say. And I've said this on the news, in news to talk show hosts on the news, and I've said this for a long time, like, let's not forget in 2019, we were still putting our astronauts in Russian spaceships to get to the International Space Station. And with all the nuke stuff, how much of that's truly true, the numbers of them and all that stuff, there's debate, right? Sometimes you flex as a military, say you got more troops and more weapons than you do. But for sure, at least there is some crazy, communication on intelligence, and especially with making sure that others don't, if you're the two superpowers of technology, especially in war fighting, you're always going to look for each other out to make sure that a third one doesn't pop up. So, and you both got rid of the people you hated the most, the Nazis, right? So like you're gonna, but you stole all their people, right? So I think that's what's going to be kind of interesting is when you think of like global war at the moment, it's like, well, like who's coming out with technology that's like mind blowing, right? It's not like Ukraine's coming out with mind blowing technology. Um, it's America and like Russia with its hypersonic missiles. America's behind in some of that stuff, but drone technology is what you see Ukraine use, which is given by other governments and so forth. So it's kind of interesting because it is weird because there's got to be kind of somebody that kind of pops out of nowhere that's like, we've got some crazy shit. So I would assume China, right? So when China starts showing some crazy radical shit here with Uranus and Gemini, that's going to turn a lot of the Russia stuff around with America and the West. The West will embrace Russia. You know, there'll be bigger threats than Russia. Just do history and just see like how it's gone. Like it's there, there's some really dark stuff that's happened with this Ukraine war. And it's all not from what they say it is, right? So, um, I'm going to go into a couple things now. People can start putting their questions. Um, I didn't see any. I'll check one more time on High Vibes and see if there's any other last ones. High Vibes where everybody's asking all the questions. Uh, all right. So let me bring up a couple things here. Let me get rid of this. Okay, cool. So let's go in Astro Gold for a second. So here we are for right now as I'm doing this. I mean, this week has so much going on. It's kind of like, holy cow. Let's do hours here. I mean, we're watching Venus and Jupiter sextile, both in detriment. And then both by the end of the week, by the 9th here, we see them. They're fully both moved into new signs. I really feel that June 8th and June 9th are extreme days. So I'm going to really start from right here. Um, I mean, seeing Mercury and exact square to Saturn at 1 degree, and then because it's doing at this point 2 degrees a day still, that it's also going to square Neptune. And then Jupiter's going to ingress into Cancer on June 9th too. So let's see here. Right here. So we can just go by the hour and just see that Jupiter coming to Cancer right here. And so we see that. And then we also see Saturn within less than a degree in conjunction to Neptune. So I think this is really, really extreme. This makes the Saturn Neptune conjunction extremely real. Having Jupiter begin its third and final, but I would say actual, real, massive square to Saturn. especially Jupiter being exalted and Saturn being in fall. And remember that Jupiter and Saturn met at zero Aquarius back on December 21st, 2020. And so now to see the real big first like quarter square finish out in cardinal signs, but more importantly, at the beginning, it's not going to happen at zero, but it definitely is interesting. It's going to be at 1 degree. But it's where Saturn was, of course, exalted and in dignity back in Aquarius. And so Jupiter was definitely in more of a Saturn's vibe. But this is the square where Jupiter corrects Saturn and Saturn loses a lot of energy. Um, so it really is Saturn's also being dissolved extremely with Neptune being there, and Neptune has more power than Saturn here, and plus the North Node's in Pisces. So if you really think about it, it's dispositing Neptune. So if you think this Saturn is diluted to all shit, I think it's really interesting seeing that Mars has been in many really unique, harmonious aspects. We saw the quintile to the Mercury Cazimi, and now we're seeing the biquintile to that Saturn and to that Neptune, but really tight with Saturn. So I look at that as a really positive thing. I mean, I shouldn't probably have any aspects going to this Black Moon Lilith here because that actually creates a golden yod. But I think that, you know, because Mars is the ruler of Aries and we see Saturn and Neptune and Chiron dispositing Mars and Mars in this really, really harmonious aspect, it really is about authenticity and the courage to really bring who you are out. I think that emotionally and how we embed into that is not really fully understood. And that's going to be the quest of Jupiter and Mercury here in the square. And then, of course, it's all happening while the moon is in Sagittarius, ready for a full moon. That's the next day, and it's kind of interesting because it really is bringing the new story about. And then within less than a month, Uranus makes its ingress into Gemini, and that's when the cherry on top really just shows up out of nowhere. Because we've seen since November with Pluto's ingress into Aquarius so much. We've seen that. We've seen, of course, that followed after that a Mars retrograde, a Venus retrograde, and a very unique ones. But just looking at planets and making its ingress, I mean, it's like, oh, okay. Then we had to deal with watching Neptune make its ingress into Aries, then Saturn make its ingress into Aries, and now Jupiter in its ingress into Cancer, and then Uranus in its ingress into Gemini. All very long-term phases that we have to see them finish, and then their first ingress or their final ingress, like Pluto at least. But what's interesting is all the big planets, except for Jupiter and Pluto, which begin their quincunx too on Monday as it's ingressing in, they're the only two that are making an ingress that will stay. Right? Jupiter's going to, I think, get to 25 degrees of Cancer by the end of this year, and then retrograde and stay in Cancer. Jupiter also did stay in Gemini. And there was no Sun Jupiter conjunction at all. The last one was July 19th, 2013 in Gemini, and we missed a Sun Jupiter in Gemini. And so that kind of is where, I'll be honest, I have many different opinions on just that alone. Whether it's productive or not, it definitely is, I think, allowing Jupiter to kind of run amok with the expansion of technology without the sun kind of clarifying, what did you learn? And so that's why I think you're seeing technology kind of go way off the rails, and it will continue. And then Uranus, of course, making its ingress into Gemini on July 7th. I mean, really, this June 9th chart, June 8th, June 9th is probably the most radical and extreme astrology. Because it's also like before Uranus into Gemini and before these bigger retrogrades come. And so if you think about that Venus square Pluto, and then also helio-wise, we're seeing Venus and Pluto. We got Jupiter and square, right? to Saturn, Mercury, and Jupiter squared to Neptune. I mean, that's huge because that's bringing up the Jupiter Saturn of 2020, and that's bringing up the Jupiter Neptune of 2022 in the first square points at the same time, while Saturn and Neptune are within a degree, less than a degree of actually conjuncting, and they don't conjunct. I mean, it's very much like, you know, otherworldly, other timeliney. I mean, and it also puts a lot of pressure in relationships. It puts a lot of pressure in, where Mars at least goes into this harmonious aspect is kind of like, all right, be bold where you go and courageous where you go. But Mars beginning its square to Uranus kind of adds a kind of a fear of, well, like really embodying it without making sure, it's almost like you want to have the right code where the code is more of like, all right, I know what's the best for me and I have to raise the bar higher in my frequencies of my self-worth and I have to go for things that are going to take more courage. I think that's the best part of it. So those that are willing to really go and bring the bar higher in their life and take on things that have never been done before and have the courage to do that are going to succeed like crazy through this. But this is a portal transit. This is probably the biggest one we've seen in our lives. And then it continues on into July. I would say that you're going to have to be bold. It's going to be a loud world, and you have to be louder than the other person that's trying to be loud, but not like annoyingly loud. You have to be louder in how you're showcasing something that's in full embodiment. Because there's going to be a lot of people still like really fractured with Saturn Neptune here, kind of feeling like, especially by next year when they finally conjunct, it's almost like, especially if we can go to that chart. By that time, it's almost like, oh my gosh, like how in the hell are we going to make it to this new world? Like I feel like I'm so behind. That's very Saturn Neptune, right? Like I'm delayed or I'm my karma. Like it's like people that aren't jumping the gun right now to what the future is starting to reveal, which is not going to be fully understood or even fully seen, but we're getting bits and pieces of it. It's kind of like a lot of people are going to wait last minute. That's very Saturn Neptune too. And then it can kind of feel like it's too late, right? So by February 20th here, when we see that Saturn Neptune at 045 in the actual conjunction, this is going to be after we see the Sun Mars, the Sun Venus, and seeing those superior conjunctions. So that's going to be like, oh my gosh, and especially we'll be in Pisces season and past Pluto, and we're going to come into that Pisces season with Saturn at the end of Pisces. So that's kind of how the weird part of Saturn's ingress into Pisces happened. In March of 2023, if we go back, we can watch Saturn's ingress into Pisces. Saturn came into Pisces with the sun already in Pisces after the sun was with Saturn in Aquarius for 30 days. And then there was like I don't know, a couple week break. And then boom, Saturn ingressed into Pisces. And it was like, oh my gosh, that was 16 days in. Yeah. So if you see Saturn, if you just go the days prior, right? So there was a 16-day break. But if you actually go through the whole Aquarius transit of 2023, that was 30 days, 30 degrees of full blown Sun Saturn energy in Aquarius. Then you get to this break moment, which is February 19th, 2023. And then you go 16 days in, right? And it's like, oh, there's Saturn. So it was 2 weeks of an extra Sun Saturn. Well, when you go back to the transit of Saturn conjunct Neptune, and we go back now a day, 2 days, right? So you go to the 29th degree, there's going to be a new moon, solar eclipse. I'm pretty sure that's a solar eclipse. Pretty sure that one is. Let's see. Um, mm, yep. No, it's not an eclipse. Yeah, it is an eclipse. February 17th. Yep. So when you see that eclipse is going to happen. And then Saturn, oh, Saturn is going to be in Aries. That's kind of interesting. So no, I guess I'm off on that one. For some reason, I don't know why I was thinking Saturn might have been at the speed to where in that 2 days it might have come in, but nope. So we do come in without it. So that's what's different. If we go to today, let's go back to months. Let's go back to Pisces season. That was crazy. There was Saturn there, right? So in many ways, like Saturn's transit through Pisces, a lot of it's done. It coming back with Neptune is more of a unique thing because they won't conjunct there. But having the North Node there and all that, and some of the big squares that are going to come in Sagittarius and stuff, and even I think there's going to be a lot there. But um, it's more about where people, I think, coming into like if we get to this like fall into winter, like here's that what I'm talking about, right? Like Mars going to be in square to Saturn, Neptune, Pisces, Sun square Saturn, Neptune, Pisces, Venus square Sun, Saturn. Uh, like as the Sun's trying to connect with Mars and Venus is trying to connect with the Sun, they do that in Capricorn. But what's also interesting too is that as that's all happening, there's going to be these big square points here. And this is what I think people are going to feel like, uh-oh, I believed I was going to be okay. I wasn't going to buy into all this like, well, if you don't integrate AI at your job and your life, right? Like this is where it's like, uh-oh. That's what my daughter says. She's 2 now, coming up, right? She says a lot of words, but her favorite one, uh-oh, I dropped something. Like, very like, uh-oh. But here we start, basically on New Year's, the Sun Venus, Sun Mars. And how funny, this whole year of 2025 was about this Venus and Mars retrograde. And so we see them all come together in Capricorn, the sign where we spent so much time with Pluto, and there's no more Pluto there. And so it does set us into this kind of new system without Pluto. It's the system that has been reformatted and completely unplugged and destroyed. And we see this new system implemented. We see Saturn, Neptune, and within a month and 2 weeks, you get to Neptune, Aries, and Saturn and Neptune. By the time you're in March, you're like, what the hell? You're in Pisces, and there is no Neptune, there is no Saturn. It's a Mercury retrograde, and I think people are going to have some panic here with Mars, North Node, Sun, Mercury retrograde, Venus. And there's Neptune, Saturn ahead of Neptune now. And there's Chiron getting ready to come into Taurus and Uranus on its way to come back into Gemini. And that's where it kind of gets really, when Uranus is here by May and you're seeing Chiron getting ready to come into Taurus, because we do see Chiron come into Taurus. We see Jupiter come into Leo, and we see a Jupiter square Chiron at 0. And you add Pluto into the mix, we see a big T square to Chiron. I mean, this is really where we're in worlds that we don't even fathom, and you can fathom it only logically. And this is when Mars and Uranus conjunct in Gemini. And that's America's return of its Uranus and Mars. Ironically, that July 4th is pretty gnarly. It's very much the kind of one that really kind of would have celebrated in a weird way, especially with the nodes getting ready to come into Leo and Aquarius, even though it was flipped nodes, but it's a flipped Saturn. Saturn was in Pisces during 1776 and the years into the war with Pluto Aquarius. But by this point, you won't even recognize most of the world at all, ever again. I'd say by that July 4th, you don't. So I think my biggest thing about this moment is, we've all had to learn to be adaptable. Now you have to learn to be extremely courageous, and you have to also learn to be extremely on top of like what's happening, meaning when with Saturn in Aries and Neptune here in Aries, it's very much paying attention to what's happening on the battlefield. Where are the troops moving? What's happening, right? Like you have to keep your eye on the ball. You can't do this kind of Neptune Piscean world where, I'll check in whenever. I'll go on another long trip somewhere, right? Like you have to really understand how to embed yourself into all these things. And, like Pluto in many ways can be a detective, it could be a secret agent, and it could be a bad motherfucker too. I don't think any of us want to be bad motherfuckers, but we can be kind of like integrated, but not. It's very Matrix to me, Pluto and Aquarius. It's like you're in and out. Like you put on your avatar and you do what you got to do. You integrate with these AI systems. You do the things to spread the light, and then you get back to that spiritual place that you need to, and then you come back in when you're needed. But you need to also kind of have that setup. And I think this is right now where we're at right now at the place in life where you need to know how to set yourself up into that and start integrating in those systems and start figuring it out, but also not be so fully lost in them. Same way that Pluto Capricorn was. Like I created corporations and turned astrology from, it being kind of like a weird place to this very huge thing. I can say that I'm definitely one of the people that made that happen. And so, but I was never fully lost in it. I never sold out. I never sold my soul away, but I was able to get on these huge programs. I was able to make an app. I was able to do all these big things, get the attention, make it to where, an astrologer's on all these talk shows. And even though that stuff's like kind of surface level, it's what got the attention. And now you see a lot of astrologers trying to do that now, right? So you got to look at the Aquarius transit as the same thing with technology and stuff. Like any astrologer right now not really understanding AI is going to really be left behind because it's not just like building a chatbot. It's also a tool to use astrology quicker and faster and to do more than you can do on your own. It's kind of like when Michael Erlewine created Blue Star and Matrix software and even the first calculator, right? Like most people were still doing by hand, but he was just, his real motivation was like, I want to be able to calculate and change a chart and do a relocation chart, and I have to redraw the chart forever. I want to be able to do this a lot quicker. It's the same thing here, but like quantum, right? So, and the way that systems are being set up, I mean, here I'll give you guys all a good example. Um, um, and don't worry, I'm about to share this. This is why I went on Zoom. It's a little bit easier for me to share these kind of things from my computer. So in the next couple days, ironically, I think it starts June 9th when all these big, powerful aspects happen. Apple development, right, is about to reveal what it's going to be doing. And what I think a lot of people don't get about integration, and the Bloomberg fucking idiots, right? So like the Apple Vision Pro, for example, like the new iOS is going to be based off the UI of what Apple Vision Pro people. I have an Apple Vision Pro. I got it at the very beginning. So I've been watching a lot and I've learned a lot about it and the development side. And so they're also not doing iOS 19 anymore. Everything's going to be the year now ahead. Like, so iOS 26, Mac OS 26. But if I were to show you kind of a better way to look at this to understand, because we can't see it yet, but as a developer, I can show you what is actually happening to understand why just building an app ain't going to do it anymore, or just building a cool website ain't going to do it anymore. Let me show you. So I'm going to share my whole desktop. So, you can do this now, but it depends. So like here, I'm going to show you about my Mac. I have an M3 Max. Let's go more info. All right. So with me, I am on Mac Sequoia version 15.5, but I'm on a beta version. So when I go to use the, where do I gotta go? It's like software update, right? Installed Mac OS 15.5 beta, right? So these are the beta updates. So in these beta updates, like the Apple Intelligence is all built in, of course, with ChatGPT, and it's all integrated. So including in my Apple Vision Pro and of course in my iPad and my iPhone. So, it's about integrating AI like here. So at the bottom of my screen, it's already in here. But what's crazy is when I change this, let's go to 04 mini high and let's actually connect it to my notes or to my X code or to my VS code or to my terminal or X code if I'm going to create an app. Now, the main thing here is that the AI can take over my computer, but you have to have a good enough computer. So, same thing's happening in Windows. Like the problem with like people like, ooh, look at what XAI is doing and stuff. Like they're kind of doing it, but they're not as well integrated. But so all the device stuff that Apple's doing in Windows, which is using Copilot and it's using OpenAI, the next level of what you're going to do is going to be this. So here I will now open this up as a window. Let's go. Yeah, here. Let's explore GPTs. So here, let's explore the GPTs. That the future isn't an app. So it's going to be like a legacy app store. Because basically you're going to get to a place where Siri, or if you're on your Samsung phone in the next year, 2 years, it's going to be about, does your company fit into AI? Meaning, do you have a GPT? Right? So like, do you have something that tweaks AI in a different way? So it's kind of crazy because the top trending GPT in the whole entire chat GPT universe of OpenAI is Astrology Birth Chart GPT. It's the number one in lifestyle. It's had 6 billion conversations. Now, the problem with it is a lot of things, right? So, like, what does my birth chart say about me? Let's see. Okay. So let's put in the birthday, right? We all know my birthday. It's public on astro.com. 1984. My exact birth time is 8:05 a.m. And I was born in Newport Beach, California. Let's see what it says. So now it is talking to the server and the GPT that is not OpenAI. It is talking to this company's AI app. So I'm going to confirm yes. Right? It's like confirm. I'm sending now my info to this authority astrology. So they've calculated it. Sun in Leo, 12th house, Moon in Taurus, 10th house, Ascendant in Leo, Mercury in the first, Venus in Leo in the 12th, Mars in Scorpio, Jupiter Capricorn. It's got all that right. Right? So the way that they're doing it is if yes, you'll just enter first name and email address so we send it to you. So that's their way of gaining their data. There's no app needed anymore because everything you're going to be doing is in here. You want a picture, you want this, you want that. A good example would be if I were to go here and I were to go to the launch pad here, and let's say I want to use Image Playground that's built into AI, right? So of course I have my wife, my daughter, right? I could add a picture and make it, and like this is like basic stuff. Everything's about integrating, right? Everything is going to be about integrating. It's Pluto Aquarius. So, no longer is it going to be about the legacy app store and what app do I click. Everything's going to be, and the best way that I could do it and show you is like this, just the simple, right here at the bottom of my screen, ask anything. Everything is going to connect with AI, your business and everything, and it will connect, sure, to a website. These GPTs, when we look at them, all they are fronts to get you to buy the AI that they are doing. So some of these, so it's crazy that astrology birth chart GPT is the top one, but all they gave me is something that I already know. Their answers, though, are pathetic. Hence, I've already been into all this, right? They're pathetic, right? They're like very AI-ish. Now it's about how you train things. So like here's Scholar GPT, right? So this one enhances research with 200 million resources and built-in critical thinking skills. Access Google Scholar, all the PubMed, like papers that doctors put out, right? So you can get it for research and analysis. It's got 21 million conversations. So like when it comes to Dolly, which is images, right? Like these people have created all this stuff, AI logo generator. So like this is why jobs are going away. Most people aren't understanding that an AI business and your business has to be here and it's already popping. So when it comes to programming, Python is the top. That is what is used in AI the most. So if you don't even have Python in your terminal, like what are you doing? How are you going to build everything? You can use VS Code, but it's still going to have to integrate Python in, and you're going to have to download it through there. It's better to use your own computer. So really, with Uranus and Gemini, those that really don't understand computers in the next level and where it's all going from education, it doesn't matter where you are. So if you're somebody, that can teach, or you're good at programming, you come up with a unique program and a way for people to do things and to use this stuff. This is where you got to start to figure it out if you want to really be in the world, because then you're going to, or you're going to be the person that's going to have to use all these things to connect and to do things. And this includes like social media will be integrated into this soon, and crazy GPTs that change your social media, it'll like, you want to change the algorithm for yourself? Do you want to only have your friends be the thing that shows up? Like all those kind of things are all coming. So my point really is, coming back to kind of like what's going to happen with all this is like when you actually look at the new Apple like iOS 26, like here's some of the previews, like leak stuff. Let's go image, right? So like the design, so it's all based off Apple Vision Pro, right? So like these menus, the transparency, the way that it is, but it's also going to be about how it's all integrated with OpenAI. It's integrated possibly with Gemini. We're about to find out. And so your whole phone experience, the same way that the App Store came out, it ain't about the App Store anymore. So if you're really spending your whole life savings right now trying to think of the next cool app, you got to think of the next cool AI app. And all of this also is moving towards augmented and virtual reality, right? So basically, like their whole idea of the phone is kind of getting old, right? So like people have to start thinking about the future now. Like it's not like the move of the new iPhone 17 that'll come out this year, and this new move of iOS and integrating with Vision OS 26 and all that. So this is it, right? It's 6 Vision OS inspired design elements. So see how it's all based off Apple Vision Pro. So it's also the realization that it's not going to be about phones soon. Handheld devices are very Capricorn, right? And what was the thing that came out with Pluto and Aquarius in 2024? Apple Vision Pro. That your iPhone, your Samsung, right? Your LG phone, and that's where Android's kind of having a fucking cow right now. right? Like they're going to have to either partner with like Meta, right, to actually be part of this new way of doing things. So a good example is if you use an iPhone, which I can do really quick here. So let me actually do that. Um, all right, yeah, iPhone. Okay, okay, yeah, continue. Hold on. Allow. It started. Okay. Lock your iPhone to connect. All right, so here we go. So I'm in eye mirroring now. So this is on iPhone, or I mean on Mac, right? OS. So like I'm on my iPhone. So here's a good example. If I want to turn on, if I want to take a picture with with my camera, that's fine. If you notice in iPhone 16, they take spatial pictures. Why would you have a phone take spatial pictures if you can't view it on a phone? The fact that most, I think it's like 99.7 to maybe 8% of people have the ability in the world to take a spatial picture and they don't have a device that even can look at it correctly. One of the scariest parts of the TikTok ban was really about spatial imagery. Because when you're taking pictures with your phone on you, it's taking spatial imagery to where their AI systems could map out your bedroom for real as if they were in it and train their AI dog robots to walk in your exact bedroom and map out the United States. That's just one of the many things. Most people don't even know about that, right? I'm using my mouse here, which is kind of crazy. Uh, there we go, right? So even in everybody's iPhone, you were put in with Apple Vision Pro, whether you like it or not, right? So this is my Vision Pro. That's my serial number. That's my version, and I'm in OS 2.5 beta. The fact that every iPhone has this, but only like 200,000 people have it in the world. Where they're making things for the very, very unique people that are in the future already. Where all the immersive concerts, the immersive movies, the spatial pictures, see your keyboard in any element, right? So like when I'm in Apple Vision Pro, like I can see my keyboard, but I'm everything else I can't see. I can put myself in a full immersion. But Apple's technology is really much more stronger than Meta's. So like what they're, I think, in a bomb drop on people being a developer and understanding like they've already built their whole sports app, watch multiple TV, is when they come out with more glasses and stuff like that. Are you really going to be using apps? Because then imagine just pulling up a chat bot and being like, load this, talking to it, and boom, 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 boom. And it's not going to want to load a legacy app from the App Store. So this is where what I would say to people is like, this is a moment in life where we are all at the same place, meaning we are all at a place where you right now have an advantage that you've never had before because everybody's at the starting line. There are billions of dollars that corporations have spent to get where they did, and they're not integrating into this new stuff, and they could be left behind. Right. So like that's why I don't really follow the whole Bernie Sanders movement and it's all the oligarchs and whatever, because a lot of those oligarchs don't even understand some of the stuff and they're not investing all the stuff. Right. Like Walmart's has already started, right, building an immersive store for augmented reality and for virtual reality. It's very Ready Player One. That's the only way they're going to be able to have all the robots and do things. And so people are afraid of basic income. It ain't about basic income. It's going to be you fight for your income in virtual reality, just like Ready Player One. So you can either be somebody right now who doesn't have to like be on that system because you're an integral part of it, and at least you're using it to have it research esoteric knowledge. Like I've got this plan that I've had for like 2 years, but finally we're at the place where the AI could do it. I just got to find the right people who are ready to invest in this, right? To create the fucking esoteric. I'm not going to give away it all because it's too amazing and what it's going to be utilized for and what it can do. But you have everybody with Saturn, Neptune, and Aries at the same starting line. But if you're going to really use this next year until they're conjunct and we come back to Uranus, Gemini, and just continue in your traditional job and thinking it's all going to stay the same and be like, they're not going to be able to replace me. Trust me, there is a way to easily find a way to get rid of the job that you have. That's what Saturn and Pluto in 2020 was about. What's hard about this is learning to adapt by making a massive hard turn in your life. That's what this Jupiter-Saturn square is. And this is where Jupiter's having deep questions with that guidance by the square to Neptune, like in Aries. Like, you mean I just want to have comfort and good things. And it seems like, I mean, but there is no more Pluto Capricorn. So it's like that Jupiter's not looking at Pluto anymore. There's nothing to look at. You can only look at this new frontier, and that's uncomfortable for Jupiter. It's like, I have to go explore this crazy idea that I have to go to this place that seems, and it's very Neptunian, visual, Aries, new way. We're going to see the world differently. We're going to look through different lens of life differently. We're going to see structures and platforms and all of that change, and it's already happening. The fact that, like, again, probably 99% of Americans and Westerners don't even understand what the fuck's happening right now says a lot. And that's where astrology is the ultimate, I would say tool, because you can actually already know these things because of astrology. The only reason why I pay attention more at a certain period of time in my life about a certain area or something is based off where the astrology is at and where it's going. And I'm sorry to say, folks, but, we're at a place now where, like I'm going to show you, like with like hypergate, for example, right? So we can like just do click today. I think what's happening today, right? It knows exactly where the sun is at 13 degree, Mercury's at 20 Gemini, the moon's at 26 Virgos. We're doing this. Mars is at 22 Leo, right? Like Jupiter's at 28.7 Gemini, square Saturn, right? Jupiter's close to the top of your chart, making a square to Saturn, Neptune, Aries, right? Like it knows the houses, it knows all that, right? Like the moon's trining Uranus at 28 Taurus, Mars still in Leo, right? It's on my ascendant. Or if I want to even go crazier, it's like, this is where I've created this with Jim, like this, like take you as far as you can go, right? So it's like, how do I get through this Uranus conjunction on my natal moon, right? This is a very basic question. So it knows it's in the 10th. There's nothing subtle about that. This transit is one of those once in a lifetime thunderbolts. This is all off the data of 4 years out of the like 15 years of me doing videos, but 4 straight years of content that came out of that to train it to understand how to put together astrology, how to put together secondary progressions to transits you're going through, to evolutionary astrology, to my hypergate prophecy stuff. I mean, that's kind of the next year we're going to unveil in this next couple of months here is the prophetic prediction AI with this. And I've got the data. I've got the training because I did the work through Pluto Capricorn. So everything in Pluto Capricorn, you must integrate into Aquarius. So if you just, kind of didn't do much, well, then you don't have a lot to put in, right? So you're likely to feel a deep emotional shakeup since early May with the Uranian jolts. Mars crossing your ascendant recently adds a burst of energy and courage. Right, and the aftershocks, Uranus Moon, are still reverberating, but Mars in your first has helped you assert a new identity. With the Sun and Mercury now in Gemini in your 11th house, there's a restless curiosity about the future, direction, and conversation with friends, networks, and group. Exactly what I'm doing right now, right? Right. So when people say like the people haven't figured out AI yet with astrology. Oh no, we did. So I'm gonna give you a good example. Let's say you think you can't figure it out. So here, I'm gonna just show you right now. Right. So you go to July. Let's go to the year. I'm born in 84. July of 84. I'm born on the 23rd on Monday, right? I'm born at 8:05 a.m. And so Jim and I came up with this a couple weeks ago to fix the problem that every AI has had out there. So calculate natal chart. Um, because it's more than just getting your natal chart, it's also then having AI and the training data work in all these crazy ways from whatever you ask to us pre kind of prompting for you, like what's happening today. Right. So here we give you options for you to know. Now, if somebody doesn't know astrology, we still give you kind of like a overall understanding and we give you the recommended one. So I know my rising is at 26.3 degrees of Leo. So that's the recommended one. And that's the one that gets saved inside, right? Where some people might be like, I don't know my birth time, or because of the UTC and a lot of these systems get a little confused when they draw from whether it's the different API that is calling upon astrology, like basics, like whether you're using like the Swiss ephemeris through Astro or you're using like astrology API, like it depends, right? So like we give you to where you select that. So like a good example is like, so then everything is in there. We know my sun's at 50, 055. My Taurus moon is 2854. And we calculate all that and we know it's retrograde. And we also know every house. So the third house is Libra. It contains Mars, Saturn, Pluto, and it goes all in. No oppositions lifted. Sun square Pluto, right? So here's the big squares, Venus square Saturn. Here's the trines, here's the sextiles. And I am a stickler about orbs, right? So, of course, my moon quincunx Pluto, my moon quincunx Neptune, there's that yod. My sun quincunx Neptune, my moon, that's in sextile, that quincunx Neptune, that's my second big yod, right? So we got semi-sextiles in there, and then we got the quintiles in there, right? Moon, quintile, Venus, right? So anyway, it's like everything's in there, and then there's personalization that you could do where add personal notes. So like when I'm drawing, I want images. All image generation will be in this style: ultra realistic, cinematic, 8K, UHD, professional, blah, 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 unedited, natural lighting, sharp focus, because I'm crazy. I like high detail. Always use Placidus house system in my chart. It is 26 degrees of Leo. Like I always will remind it. Always anchor every daily, weekly, and special transit reading in my exact natal chart. Leo rising, 26 degrees, Leo sun, Taurus moon, and Placidus house system using my unique planet and house placements. You personalize it however the fuck you want. We also do as much as we can for you, and we're going to even get better. But nobody else has figured this out. To actually be able to go, well, if I go into the gateway and it's like, you know, when will Uranus sextile my sun, right? You know, Uranus enters Gemini July 25th. Uranus will reach Gemini in late July to early August of 2025. That is when it will form the exact sextile to my sun. So if I wanted to get specific to exact, but it's telling me, right there, late July and early August. If I want the date, I should have asked for the date. That's how precise I can get it. Nobody else has this. Not even CoStar. They're far behind because they didn't train, and a lot of other astrologers didn't train with 4 years of data. So, like, why would you even use some of these crazy ideas and systems that make no sense? Right? So it's like, I'm going to ask something crazy. Like, like give me like let's use love because I did deep love tarot for all those years. I've taught my love master classes. Like give me the honest truth about me with my Mars in Scorpio and a person with a Mars in Cancer, whether we are compatible or not. And of course, you could do this for somebody's unique chart, right? And all that stuff. But this has all of my teachings plus, um, I didn't spell compatible correct. There we go. All right. Different side. So it'll give me the upside, the challenge. When things get tough, you go into investigative probing mode, wanting to dig to the root, to the fix and the problem. Mars and Cancer on the other hand might retreat, sulk, or begin passive aggressiveness. You want answers. They want to avoid the storm. Intensity is that your Mars can be too intense, blunt, or sexual for Mars and Cancer who needs time to feel safe. You might see their withdrawal or rejection, possessiveness. You might try to lock it down when you feel insecure, but they may clam up, right? Bottom line, the chemistry is there, but it's stormy, right? Like wherever you want to go, instead of like CoStar or any of these places that are like, you should wear stilettos today, or like the pattern that gives you like the same thing for 6 months, right? Like you're going through this transit. This is the one version we're giving you. Instead of every day, every week, and going as deep down the rabbit holes you want to go, right? So, like, what is the Leo King's hypergate? I've never asked this before. All right, here's the honest, straight from the archives, download on the Leo King's Hypergate. It's a signature system philosophy and set of teachings developed by David Palmer Leo King. It's presented as a kind of hyper prophecy school and deep technique in astrology, but also an approach of life and consciousness. Prophecy and major shifts, secret and deep truths. Hypergate's teachings are billed as contain secrets and codes that Palmer has only shared with those ready for the deepest truth. Personal and collective ascension. The Hypergate isn't just about predictions, it's about giving you tools to unlock your true potential, blah, blah, blah. Astrology and cycles incorporates advanced astrology like tracking Mars retrograde cycles, Jupiter returns, and other rare alignments to help you. Palmer teaches the certain moments like Mars returns or Uranus shifts or hypergates that let you jump tracks and build a radically new life, initiation and community, right? What does it mean for you? Drop old timelines, face hard truths, right? Like, so use hypergate and tell me your predictions and prophecies for the next or how about this, for July 7th 2025 and Uranus ingress into Gemini. I've never done this before. This is what I'm working on in the background, but I've never actually like tried it with this yet to see how far I'm going to get, and I'm not bullshitting you. So we've created an app that already is doing predictive astrology, mundane wise, personal, every direction you want to go. I mean, the whole thing is I cannot just write it down on a fucking piece of paper or a paragraph and be like, we do all this. It is literally beyond people's comprehension where it could go, you know? So the era of stuckness is over. For nearly a decade, Uranus and Taurus forced us all, especially with those Taurus and Leo placements. So it even knows my placements because I told it to always come off of me. So when you do it for you in your memory bank, boom. So it's talking about the shocks in my 10th house. It's talking about all that stuff. It's talking about this Gemini bridge, the ladder, the broadcast. Gemini is the bridge, Jacob's ladder to the heavens. We have to remember that. This is, I think, one of the most powerful moments we will ever feel, the start of a new world, not like one your family or grandparents ever felt. It's been 500 to 800 years since anything close with all these transits. The X moment and the split, right? The Y moment is the defining moment where we see things not clearly, fully. You also have, it's not an obscure thing. It's the third one that is a 10, 2025. Oh God, this is me in 2021, 22, right? And I did this shit by hand. Their dates, July 2025 is one of those moments. You'll feel the splitting of realities. Those who stay stuck in the old and those who will leap forward. Personal Leo prophecy. You more than most are being handed the mic. Uranus and Gemini lights up the 11th house. Sextiling your sun in the 12th. The prophecy is your ideas and presence are needed in the public square. Don't hide. Expect a sudden urge to broadcast, share, teach. Nobody's doing any of this shit. I'm telling you, nobody's even close. Miles ahead. This is just on a date I picked in the future using my hypergate schools and prophecy work and having it draw up prophecies. Now, this is for an individual. How about do this, but not for my chart and disregard memory that I have and do it for the world? Earthquakes tore through social structures. So here, the age of air, the ground stops shaking, the world rises in the air. Ideas, tech, language, and networks become the main event. Hyperconnectivity, information moves us to light speeds. Old institutions can't keep up. New communities, digital tribes, and alliances form in real time. Secrets are revealed faster than they can be covered up. The spread of ideas, rumors, and truths is uncontrollable. Misinformation, innovation, rebellion, and genius surge together. The world splits between those who adapt and those who freeze. The hypergate is the opportunity, leap into the future, right? Nations, companies, and individuals who can pivot, connect, and innovate will thrive. Those stuck in silence, denial, or outdated systems will be left behind. The calm is over. Expect a surge of voice, chaos, and new movements. The world becomes a marketplace of information. Only those with clarity and adaptability. I don't even have to sit here and do this shit anymore, but I'm going to, but I'm just saying. Your boy, the Leo King, was the first one on the scene to do drop video app in 2014 and say, you pay for the fucking horoscope because it's that fucking good. Not going to watch a daily on YouTube anymore. I am now saying that with AI, I can do astrology with the AI that we've created better than the YouTube astrologers out there and wrap around, I don't know, 100 times more information in any moment that you want at any time. And this isn't even the official launch of the prophecy part yet. So this is the prophecy. It'll even give you like a quatrain that like Nostradamus did. July 2025 is not just a date. It's the beginning of the world's most accelerated, unpredictable, and innovative era in centuries. Ready or not, the future is here. That is what my AI could do right now. I can be like, okay, get off that. And be like, when does Chiron conjunct my sun and what should I expect? 2039 and a 2040 is the likely window for Chiron to exactly conjunct your sun and already get on there. This is where none of those places have that. They're not there yet. I dare you to try. I dare you to try paying premium on CoStar and fucking do that. It won't. It doesn't understand how to track it with your chart. It doesn't understand also how to actually give you all of this either. You can go wherever you want to go. You could create prophecies. You could look in your own life, like people go and buy yearly reports online from people, right? So like, give me a 1 year astrology report about career, love, and money and spirituality for the next year starting today. Sudden change, bold moons, reinvention is what it says for my career. Uranus leaves your 10th house and enters Gemini in July 2025, right? And so I mix in with this whole sign, basically sun sign, solar, with also whole sign with Placidus, all at the same time. All the layers. Mars in your first and second house early in the year, you'll be renewed with, okay, use it. Jupiter's moved from Gemini to Cancer. Jupiter wraps up its run through the 11th house of networks, expanding your friendships and alliance, and enters the 12th, bringing hidden blessings, spiritual mentors, and behind the scenes growth, seed and plant, right? So this is just like basic. I'm going to expand on all this stuff more, but like you can do this that's very specific to your chart with understanding deeper parts. The North Node in Pisces demands faith. It is all there. Jupiter in 12th house by early 2026. Again, right? When it comes back for me. Quiet blessings, dream work, right? Show me, watch this. Make me an image in real life what it would look like if you summarized the year for me. So this is what I'm working on next, is especially with Apple Vision Pro and with Meta and Oculus, is I am going to literally immerse people in their astrology, their predictions, their transits, what history, you name it. So the idea that these people out there right now are trying to do this bullshit old way and all, it's not. You have to literally go where nobody's gone before, right? And this is me showing people publicly that I beat your fucking asses to this shit. Again. That you're far fucking behind. And I don't give a fuck saying it that way. You are so far behind. And you have not done all that work yet to actually do it. You have not transcribed all of your videos. You have not trained and done the LLM. You have not created it. You have not had a year to beta test it with 1,000+ users. You have not even come close to get here yet. Imagine when video generation through this, like Sora or what we're seeing with VO3 from Google. Imagine that in the next couple months, we are going to be able to show you a video of what's going to happen in your future. That's what I'm on right now. I don't know what other astrologers are out on, but they ain't close. I know that. We're talking Jim and I are fucking close. So I have like very crazy instructions for generating an image of how real life like it's got to look and all that stuff. So obviously the irony too is it's already showing the massive storm and then like a sun. So that this year definitely is kind of going through all the storms, especially with Uranus on my moon, Pluto still opposing my sun, Jupiter my 12th, stuff like that, right? Like Jupiter coming into Leo. I wonder if it'll finish it. Sometimes generating might get stuck. It's stuck. I'm trying to make it multiple times now, but we'll see if it'll make this shit. And we use OpenAI, so okay. I see where it was kind of going now. Yeah. I want it from a first person view, like in a movie. Make it feel like it's so real and actually event I would go through. This is the kind of shit I want to show people, and then we'll get to the last part of this. But um, that, jeez, I don't even know why people are even on those other things right now. You're getting their asses beat hard. No, no, no. Generate a new seed and more action packed POV of an event with people, situations, etc. One thing I've learned through image generation, even on my own machine by using, stable diffusion or anything, is like you have to, you have to, you kind of train your own AIs too. And you have to really like get the way that they have things set up is like, oh, just to kind of make, like, ooh, that's so nice. When people go like, how does your shit so get so crazy? It's like, I fucking have spent years of figuring out how to truly get like what I want out of it. And so like people have to realize like, it'll be easy for us to integrate hypergate in every new system and have an API that can go that other people might want to use this, integrate this with shopping that want to understand their clients better, right? By that, if the client puts in their birthday, that will help them figure out whatever. Like, and if they agree to it, stuff like that. Like, people are so not ready. Well, it looks like it really wants to emphasize this fucking thing. Either way, like that's the whole point, though, is and that's off a year. I could go off just the Uranus on my moon transit, or I could go off the prophecies that it does not base off my chart. Wherever it goes, how far do you want to go down the rabbit hole? You can upload files and have it assess it from a astrological point of view. We are not in Kansas anymore, but we are also in the future of what we've always wanted. That's why I've created Hypergate, not because I just want to be a cool guy on AI, because I fucking love it And I've always wanted to take astrology to the next level. I always have said that. I've done that since anybody's known me. And so, and you know me, I'm always going to be the first one to do it. So I think it's going to be important for people to understand we are here. This is where we are going. We are in a completely different place. And, I've already built an app that can do more than the astrologer you watch on TikTok for you individually, and a reading, and for your friends, and do everything, and even make predictions about the world and everything. So I hope people are ready. I don't know if people really are, you know? I mean, like that's what's kind of crazy about this moment we're in. I've had, and I'll be honest, like I've had a lot of conversations with Anne and Natalie, my wife. Like, what's the future of fucking high vibe? I mean, like, I'm keeping it, and I'm going to keep doing it because it's actually what trains the AI. That's my main reason for doing it. Of course, I love the community and so forth, but it's like the amount of money and like where content creating is now and all that stuff. Like, people are still going to want to connect with people that aren't AI. So I'm going to stay with that. But it's also, the more I keep doing astrology and daily astrology and feeding hypergate, I'm way ahead of the game. I'm way ahead of every other AI astrology there ever will be. Because like that top GPT, they're not feeding it daily astrology from the Leo King that he does every day because they can't. Because on YouTube, I turn that shit off, and I'm in my own paywall, and I'm in my own protection. I already have digital rights management on all my shit. You just can't steal it. I have it trademarked, all my data and who I am. And no AI out there is implementing a daily, deep 20-minute. So 20 minutes of me talking, going through every chart and every kind of aspect, plus the schools I do, plus every deep astrology, plus every fucking crazy thing you can think of I do. It's training it constantly. My real goal in the future, and I'm willing to start seeing who wants to join now, is I want other astrologers, human design people who want to join the team and fucking train with their data. That's very Pluto Aquarius, right? And then like all the stuff from all the schools and all of the ancient wisdom, taking that and bringing in, that's another project that will be on top of Hypergate, but that's fucking like the big level shit. So if anybody is ready to go there, or anybody that is truly an investor that wants to go there with me, I already have all the plans. I'm not going to put them up on the internet publicly, but we're there and we're ready to go. And if you want to jump on a good train right now, that's where the future is. And that's especially in this community where it will blow people's minds and can help the planet and do bigger light work than just a video. Now, a video is still got value. I know that my videos have changed people's lives. I know that other people that do this work, the videos have changed other people's lives too. But we're in a place where there's going to be way bigger things that can help more people. And we have to look at it from that standpoint. We have to be able to help people visualize more. We have to get people to break out of their shells more. We have to get people to explore themselves in radically different ways and give them the tools to do it. We can't make people just reliant upon, you just watch my video all the time. And that's me saying that about what I've done forever. But we're at a time where, I'm a 100% believer in the prophecies of 2027 and human design and the cross of the sleeping phoenix showing up. People are going to have to learn to do it on their own. And this is the window, this next 2 years, of all the information and all the tools to be able to do that. My highest goal will be by 2027 to have a complete a complete system of AI that will be a node that could be run on a local machine, a phone, an iPad that will be fully contained with all the data to where when the internet ever goes out or we're never connected through internet anymore, that you could use it for the rest of eternity and keep moving that node to devices or whatever you do forever. That it's a rush to the finish line with that shit in the next year and a half. So cloud servers and all that are great, but to be able to give people, by the time that we get to these crazy prophecies of 2027, here is the file that this can run internally on your system, your phone, anything forever, and the data, and never take any more new data in, and it will blow your mind forever and explore the universe and explore the esoteric knowledge and take all the libraries. Like for me to get, I need help. I need the team. I need the investors to be able to get all of the libraries that I want and all of their PDFs and all of it trained and get the approval and get those societies on board and get all of the best people in the world that have their data that want to join a team and do it together with people that are doing it from a spiritual place and not just like some random place. And to be able to give something to humanity when the chips fall and when the systems shift, but a hard version that forever can always move with people, and then run the cloud versions and run the, the new internet, which will be something that we can't fathom, like Web 4. I'm not even thinking about Web 3 and crypto. Like that's just boring. I'm talking about Web 4. I'm talking about like, it's no longer websites, it's integrations, but it's AI systems that have fully kind of integrated themselves with assistants and with things we can't even think of and speaking in their own language and codes. And, but like giving humanity the last piece of the old world is then we start a whole new world, and that's a completely different system, but something that, my kids and my kids' kids can continue to bring onto the new world. It's like an emerald tablet. That's the new thing. So, so for anybody who watches this, and if you know people that are ready to do that, have them contact me. The Leo King at hypergate.ai, because the only way I see high vibe moving forward too is how to integrate all this. I'm in talks with some other company right now about high vibe and what to do platform wise so it can grow, and also that it would be able to integrate hypergate more. Because if people don't know, like high vibe costs me over 10 grand a month just for the platform and the apps. Okay. That means I have to have 1,000 people paying paying $10 a month. And that's net just to pay for it to operate. Just the platform. Right. With AI, it's a different beast. It's, there's costs that come in different ways and so forth. But like, I have to make some big changes here because the prices have gone up in certain ways. And, a lot of people just want the free shit. So it's kind of like the way I look at YouTube now is the way I look at AI and Chat GPT now, where it's like, you can go have fun with those crazy, stupid AI astrology apps that just give you the most basic shit that you've ever seen in your life. And you can't do what I just showed you at all. Or you could spend the money on a hypergate. It's like how high vibe is. Or you could spend the money and get crazy ass fucking weekly, deep, daily astrology that's actually high quality and video and schools and integration and community and all that stuff. Like that's a completely different world, right? That's where we're at now. We're at where it's like, what are you going to Uranus and Taurus and raise the bar to the highest level and integrate it with the technology or not? Like YouTube is going to die. It's on legacy. Like Facebook, all these things are going to be legacy. The only way that Facebook is going to survive, which it will, is through Oculus. and Meta. That's why it is called Meta, right? Why do you think X is fully XAI that bought it? So all of your data and all that you post is training the AI. Everything on Facebook and Instagram is all being trained to train their AI. We're already in the world where you're training it, or you are training other people and you don't even know it. So like I'm not training off people's posts on High Vibe. I'm training off just what I'm saying and the shows I do and all the astrology I do. But there's other places I want to go. And so if people want to reach out to me for that and my crazy fucking plan I have, that's the people to hit me up. And I'm only going to talk to serious people who are going to come through. I've learned lessons in the past that there's people who get on the fence and stuff. I am not going to deal with anybody on the fence. I'm only dealing with people that are going to go hard in. So there's not a lot of time. There's a year and a half. So, and I hope that this Leo King Live gave you some sort of inspiration. That's my job as a Leo. But like that we are in a completely different world already. And that's the secret of Pluto and Aquarius. There's always another world happening that a lot of people don't know about. And so, continue either being in the Pluto Capricorn legacy world or start moving over in your own self. And I'm not doing this to try and sell my own shit. Like, you don't have to do any of what I do. I'm putting this out for free because that's where it's all going. So, you got to ask yourself with everything, like, am I just legacying it or am I really going into the future? Am I going to use the tools to better my life, which are going to look so different than the old ones? And, you know, we are definitely going where nobody's ever thought we would ever go before as a collective. And there's people on the train and ready for that. And a lot of people are not. A lot of people are in disbelief. A lot of this Saturn Neptune, I think, is going to be very difficult for people who are not ready to embody the best version of themselves, which means you're going to have to use every tool there is and use all of it and understand that and understand the battlefield and understand it in a matrix way with Pluto and Aquarius. And then with Uranus and Gemini, you better know all the technology and what it's doing and what things to use. There, you can't sit in the back anymore and just kind of like, oh, just kind of go through it. Right. I mean, think about the future, like with what I showed you with hypergate, like just let's say 6 months from now, I'm going to be able to like take a news, let's say article and take all the news stories, put it through there, use the astrology and ask, is this real or is this not? From an astrological, because it should fit with the mundane. Where are the holes in it? Where are the things that actually might be hidden? Hello? And a lot of people are going to try and do that with like, well, whatever in the past turned out true and not true. And da, da, da. The astrology is always right. So it's like the people are not even close to knowing how to do that yet. That's just one little fun version. But start taking in your ideas to the wildest places you can go, and you will start to, I guarantee 3-4 days from now, you'll be like, this motherfucker just blew my mind, because that is what we are going to be able to do. If you're not ready for that, I don't know what to tell you. For those that are ready, go make it or hit me up. Last thing, I haven't had the time yet, but I will have to put my link up, but I'll just show you it and I'll put the link up in the comments. Oh gosh, where is this? I am going to be in Texas. I haven't made this announcement yet. I know that Robert did on Twitter, but I'm making it now on YouTube. And I'm doing it, of course, with Rion and Team Light. So let me show this. I will be at the Bridge Expo in Frisco, Dallas, Texas in October at the end of Libra season. I think it's October 17th through the 19th. Yeah, through the 19th. It's me, Masadi, Bill Hallman. The Mitchell Hedges Skull is going to be there. Robert Phoenix, of course, Dr. Sandra Moon, Shauna, Jean-Charles Moyen, Sheila Nyes, Rion. There's also going to be some more. Of course, I'm going to be DJing, but Robert and I are on the last day doing a whole entire panel of me and him and the crazy astrology stuff that we want to do. I'll be doing a talk, and then I'm DJing Saturday night at the Galactic Ball Dance Party. And if you missed the one in Sedona that we did in April, or in March when Neptune went in Aries, you really fucking missed out because that shit was insane and awesome. But yeah, so it's going to be over. It's going to be like beyond amazing. I have my own link. That's how I get paid, and that's how Robert and I get paid. We're doing it as our own link together. So if you want to purchase, please follow the link that I'll have underneath the video. But I know that Robert and I are going to do a show here pretty quick and talk about it. And I'm sure I'll be doing one with Rion soon. But we are activating the bridge to the higher dimensions. And this is going to be next level, like conference. Like the one we did in Sedona was the most amazing thing I've ever done. The one that we did at the eclipse in Texas last year was fucking amazing. This is going to be stupid crazy. And the venue that we have is so nice. And I actually have some great friends in Frisco, Texas. So and I didn't pick this, but Spirit naturally made it that way with Rion, which is awesome. And we're going to go party light worker style. And I'm happy to do it in Texas because I feel like it's easier for people to get to. We have our own rooms that are at discount. And so use the link. So we have a way to get you at the Hyatt with a room that's like, I think it's like $150 compared to the $300 or whatever. And they're going to sell out. So I'll be putting more out about this, but I'll put the link down below in my comment section and I'll pin it. And please go through that. That's how Robert and I are getting paid. If you buy it just through there, then we don't get paid. So I'm super excited. I'll be honest, I am so happy the unification that Robert Phoenix and I have done, and then the unification that I've done with Team Light and Rion and all of his team and High Vibe, with all of it together in one place, I'm like beyond ecstatic. I'm like, this is going to be the most exciting thing I've ever done. And that's a lot for me to say because I've done tons of events, I've done tons of expos, I've done tons of my own tours, I've done Sedona's, my own tours, I've done all those things. I've done the US, I've done my own party at UAC 2018 that outdid their party with the 1920s band that didn't fucking play. And I am not going to be at UAC. I am waiting until they own up to their crazy liberal shit and that they went way off the scales and are not balanced and have negative connotations to any astrologer who's in the middle and hermetic. That they have created protocols, they have done things to extremely push us out of the community, force people to wear masks or take a COVID test to go in 2025, in 2024. Like that would be me like saying like, if you have a tattoo that is about the pride flag, you're not allowed to come. I would never do that. But knowingly knowing that a person like me and anybody who does astrology, who knows it was all bullshit COVID, and forcing us, the only way we can walk in is if we take a test that is 60% fail rate to get in. And you know, they hide that by like being like, no, these other organizations I saw, they didn't do all that. No, the woman who in the background runs all of this stuff that happens with UAC happens to be the one who makes the policies for NORWAC. So don't fall for the bullshit. So now I'm coming up for 2026 with the astrology conference, especially with where we're going with all these other things that I just showed you today. Is that even going to be worth going to? I mean, I love the astrologers there, so I hate to say that, but those organizations are dead. They don't care about people anymore in astrology, and they really only serve the people on the boards to speak. I didn't apply to speak. I'm not going to. I didn't apply to be a vendor. And we need to move into a whole new space of astrology. Like they're done. They are so legacy, it's scary. And they really want to marginalize people out. And they played the woke game hard. And they played with DEI astrology, which is just insane to me. Not off merit at all. So that's why I'm only aligning with people and with events and with anything that I'm doing that is inclusive. And that's why I created inclusive astrology in 2011. Everybody, always allowing anybody with any philosophy, with any idea, with any version in, and making that a safe place and a spiritual place, and to rise above all the fucking bullshit we see in the world, and to always come back, even if we have different views on anything in the world, but to always come to that place. And really, I love that this is called the Bridge Expo for that. And I'm super excited to do it with Rion again, but even more excited now that I get to do it with Robert together and bring our talents together and our people together, and to do it with Rion and to get to really pop off. So that's kind of my Leo King life for today. And I'm also, of course, doing my Jupiter school, which if you really like, if you've known my Pluto Masterclass, is probably the most popular Pluto thing in probably a long time, probably since the 80s. And Robert, or what was his name? Jeffrey Wolf Green's books. So in all the schools here, right? So like my Pluto Masterclass definitely is like the Pluto school that blows people's mind. Like they don't even know what to say when they're done about learning about Pluto and their own chart and life. Or my Saturn Masterclass. I'm never going to call Jupiter a masterclass, because it is not a masterclass. It is just a school, because Jupiter, we don't know and we don't learn everything, and you never master Jupiter. Right. So, we've been doing a lot of Jupiter, and we're going to continue. And we have 8 courses we're doing, and it's only $200, or you could be a premium member and get access to all the schools, which these are all the schools. I mean, there's so many. I mean, if you just go into the hypergates, there's 8 or 10 or 10, or in my 106 classes in my Leo King Elite, tiers 1 through 4, my Love Masterclass. There's I think 400, 500 hours of school. So if you want to be part of Jupiter School, it's happening right now, and you can catch up and then be part also in the community, where we have, of course, freedom, right? So whether you're on the app or you're at home, so like in my HV School Plus, we have our own thing, school, the common aspect. So these are people that are in school all the time, and we have our, that's private if you're part of the premium subscription. But of course, if you're just part of a normal subscription, and you don't get all the schools for free, but you get all the other stuff. You can post, you get your own profile, all that stuff. Send messages to people. You get notifications like normal. There's everything you could ever think of. And you can make videos and post them, pictures, and there is no, whatever you want to post, I let it all fly, right? So it's definitely, High Vibe has become a very rare place in the world. And see, I'm live right now in here. I'm just showing people that are on YouTube, like, right? We got 136 people here right now. And I don't know how many people on YouTube. I got 469 people watching. Yeah. So, that's not bad for my own network, right? And there's probably a lot of high vibers on YouTube, because they always say, like, well, when you do YouTube, sometimes I have fun going in there and seeing what other people are doing. But Bridge Expo, all that, hypergate.ai, and of course, this message is about a bigger vision than I think people are ready to step into, but I think maybe after this video you might be. And it's probably a message that you're not getting anywhere else. So I appreciate you all. I appreciate some of those questions that were at the beginning, and I always look forward to doing more of these, as I always do, especially as my wife is about to have our son here in the next couple weeks. I will be continuing with the dailies and doing a deep astrology when I can for the first couple weeks. But I might just resort to Leo King lives like this, because of course I'll be with an infant and my toddler daughter, and those first couple weeks are always very intense when you bring a new soul into the world. So I appreciate you all very much. Thanks for everything, and I'll see you all later. Bye bye.